Okay, so I'm at the second point now, which is Savage Children, and I will. Let's look at these first two clips. Well, let's look at these two. Let's look at two clips first. The first one is Chris, as a child, getting his first kill, and then him teaching his son to shoot. And the second clip is interesting, I think, because the first clip is sort of this, I'm just doing what I'm told, sir. I mean, Chris doesn't seem to be a very bright guy. He's just sort of like, oh, it's fine. You know, he's kind of this, if he walked around with that head on him, I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of seems normal. You know, he just seems to not have any particular brains in there. But then the second thing where there's son, it seems as though the kid is, I think, supposed to be frightened, which is legit to me. But it's like, does he offer him a chance not to kill? Or is this just the way it's got to be? It's just that you're going to be trained to be a killer, the end. And of course, that's the moral of the story here, is that you have to train killers. Well, that's one of the morals of the story. Then, okay, so have a look at essentially the raising of these children, and think about what we were talking about in terms of essentially what is your ethnicity, or what is your, not so much your ethnicity as your social group, and how is it formed? Because this is very much a social group, as we know, and it's a massive voting bloc, which only as it's come under attack by a virus has it begun to feel that maybe there are other ways to do things. You know, maybe this punitive, it's every person for themselves, everybody will take care of everybody as long as they've got a gun kind of mentality actually isn't going to work out in the very complex, interlocked world that we live in, which has always been complex. But anyway.
You got it. Get back here. You don't ever leave your rifle in the dirt.
Yes, sir.
It was a hell of a shot, son. You got a gift. You're gonna make a fine hunter someday.
You know that it's a heck of a thing to stop a beating heart.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do it together for your first time.
All right.
Now remember, you gotta be calm, confident, and you never hesitate.
All right.
You got it, Papa?
I got it.
You feel good?
Yeah.
The next thing, which is going to be the next two clips, which we will look at. So the first one is about another child, and the next one is about another child. Okay, so have a look at these.
Confirm.
Negative. You know the ROV. Your call.
Man, they fry you if you're wrong. They send your ass to Leavenworth.
Okay, so in the first one, we see him kill the child and kill the mother. This is the clip I was talking about in the first section about dehistoricizing. And you see that the spotter essentially is the bad American. Chris is a good American because he doesn't gloat over the deaths of his enemies. You know, where the spotter, the job of the spotter is to usually make judgment calls about what the range is. Well, they would have this rangefinder basically, what the wind is like, what the conditions are like, and in other words, how to set the weapon, because these, if you're sniping, basically, you really have to understand. You have to understand physics. You have to understand weather, because the bullet is going to drop. It's going to go out at an arc. To get at a great distance, you have to essentially, the bullet has to make an upper arc and then come down and so on, blah blah blah. So you have to, there's a lot of basically there's a lot of math involved in being a sniper, which is why they have the Kentucky windage is known on the side, which shows you how to set the rifle for, you know, a given number of meters and so on. Okay. So in the first case, we are shown bad American, good American. And the bad American plays video games and treats life like a video game. Not the way to do it. And the good American believes that taking a life is a real thing. And this is the way to proceed, and this is the way to do it. There's an honorable way to kill. And if you're killing honorably, and it's a righteous kill, as the police say, then you can kill anybody, basically, and not suffer. You will not suffer regrets later, and that's the situation here. Then in the second situation, you get, this comes from much later in the film, where it appears as though Chris is kind of coming unglued, or is he growing a conscience? You know, is he becoming sort of more aware of the burden of what he's doing? Like this, you know, having killed whatever it is, 150 some people, that he's like, you know, he's maybe killed one too many children. You know, would rather not do that again, and so he's sort of begging the child, you know, please, and gives him a chance. You know, please throw down the RPG, the big rocket propelled grenade. You know, don't fire it, otherwise he's going to have to kill him, and so on. And the thing is that, and in the book, Chris shows no such emotion. He's like, oh, then I had to kill another child. Oh, and then I had to kill another one. Okay, you know, that's too bad. Jeez. But the enemy is the enemy. And so so it's very interesting the way that Eastwood has directed the character to be different from the actual Chris Kyle, because the film is going to make all kinds of claims about this being the real Chris Kyle. We're not quite there, but it's going to make these claims. So there's this, he has this sort of, you know, discussion with the kid and his you know, don't you fucking pick it up, don't you? And we see him struggling, apparently. Except that in the book, which was written by Kyle, no, there's no struggle. So much for that. You know, again, it's Eastwood redeeming the character, right? Because it shows him breaking down. But as I say, there is no such breakdown. Okay, so now watch this final clip in this little group about savage children.
اتفضلوا ويانا. اليوم كلكم معزومين على العشاء بمناسبة عيد الأضحى.
He invites you to join him for Eid al-Adha supper. He says on this day, everyone has a seat at my table.
Well, that's very generous of him.
شكرا جزيلا. هذا كرم منك.
اتفضلوا.
Holy shit.
Okay, so the holiday Eid, there are two of these. One is called Big Eid and one is called Little Eid sometimes. And these are two very important holidays. It's two of the most important holidays in Islam. And what we see here is that even though the Iraqi knows that these guys are his enemy, he invites them to his table. Not so that he can kill them, but because this is the thing to do. So, but we're then shown, we see his elbow is raw. It's been rubbed red because he's been on his elbows. He's a sniper, not necessarily Mustafa, which we learn he's not. But so Chris sees this, he's like, oh, the jig is up, as they used to say in Hogan's Heroes. And so off he goes, so then there's going to be a slaughter. And so the point is that is there any such thing as a good Iraqi? Well, no, right? Even the guy that invites you to his table wants to be your killer. They're crazed. They're all quote unquote fucking savages. Even the person who offers you his hospitality, and this is what Chris says, that's mighty nice of him. That's very welcoming, very hospitable of him. But it turns out, no, they're plotting our downfall. They're going to get us. It's like, oh, for Christ's sakes. So who are the savages here, really? Because we've seen, who's killing who. Now think about what if you had things reversed again. It's always helpful to just reverse things. What if you had a Texan kid in something like Red Dawn or something like that? Because they remade Red Dawn. It was in the middle of the Reagan era. They made Red Dawn. John Milius wrote it, and it was just this naked sort of, the communists attack America, and it falls to this group of, basically teens to to fight against the communist hordes that are attacking them, but the happy ending of the film is basically the war just goes on. There's no, it's like, yay, may your war go on forever. May the war forever be in your favor. There's just an endless war. It's like that's our happy state. Then they remade it, and I must see it. I haven't seen the second one. I thought, I couldn't bear it, but now I should see it. If nothing else, to get a laugh, because these days, that's going to be funny now. I'm sure. So man, you're in hard shape when you get his Red Dawn 2, but is going to be your joy. But the first one basically was made right in the middle of the Cold War, Reagan's reboot of the Cold War. So it sort of functions like Rambo. And the second one was made after 9/11, so it functions that way. So exactly what's going on here? If there were, say, a Texan, 7-year-old kid who was picking up an RPG to fire at Russian hordes, or, well, they wouldn't be Russian, Muslim hordes, who are overwhelming, or Latinx hordes from Nicaragua or Honduras, who are, piling across the border to get American stuff, and get take over, steal Pop-Tarts and pillage Wendy's and McDonald's, because we know what they're coming for, the real value in America. If that was happening, what if there was a 7-year-old kid, Texan kid, picking up a Laws rocket, and he was murderously shot by some Latinx guy with probably a scraggly beard, and it wouldn't look nice and groomed the way these Chris Cooper's beard looks, or Bradley Cooper, Chris Kyle. How would that play? People would go, oh my God, I can't believe they killed a child, because we don't actually we are not invited to see these characters as children. They're just crazy Iraqis. They're nuts because their mother sends them out to kill, and then she picks up the weapon. This is just terrible, because these people are savages. But we wouldn't be like that. So if we were fighting against them, we would be the honorable, the just. Okay, so just reverse it every now and then. Keep an eye on this. You think, am I looking at propaganda? It's like what it would look like if it was the reverse. It's like, oh yeah, this is probably.